This episode is brought to you by Google Gemini. With the Gemini app, you can talk live and have a real-time conversation with an AI assistant. It's great for all kinds of things, like if you want to practice for an upcoming interview, ask for advice on things to do in a new city, or brainstorm creative ideas. And by the way, this script was actually read by Gemini. Download the Gemini app for iOS and Android today. Must be 18 plus to use Gemini Live.
70,000 people are here, and Bob Dylan is the reason for it.
Inspired by the true story.
For anyone who's gonna hold your attention on a stage, you have to kind of be a freak.
Are you a freak?
Hope so.
And starring Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan. He defied everyone.
Turn it down!
Play loud!
To change everything.
Make some noise, BD.
Timothée Chalamet, Edward Norton, Elle Fanning, Monica Barbaro. A complete unknown. Only in theaters Christmas Day. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
Hey, if you're hearing this, then you are subscribed to one of the many Matt Kelly podcasts that exist in the world. Maybe it's Horror Movie Night, maybe it's One Hit Thunder, maybe even it's a defunct show like Before My Time or White People Problems. Either way, I'm here to tell you that I have a new podcast. I know, Stop the Presses, Matt Kelly, new podcast. Can anything stop this man? I'm here because this new show, Christian Cringe, has been a podcast that has definitely been building in my brain for a couple years now. This is going to be hosted by myself and my good friend, Katie Hampton. We both grew up in a very religious lifestyle. One of us has fully stepped away from that. The other one has been kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out for a long period of time. And the concept of the show is we're just going through old Christian media that we grew up on, TV shows, movies, etc. And our first episode came out today. And on that first episode, we talked about the album Happy Christmas, which was a Christmas punk album. Here's the first 10-15 minutes of the episode for you to enjoy. If you want to hear the full episode, go find Christian Cringe on any podcasting app. Give us a subscribe. I've really been loving some of the episodes that we've recorded so far, and I'm really, really excited for people to dive in this, whether they grew up with this content or not. I think they're going to have a ton of fun with it. Thanks. Katie, I am so excited for us to start the insane journey that is this podcast, Christian Cringe. Yeah. I love that we're starting with a Christmas album. We're putting it out the week before Christmas, the holiest of weeks. And that this is also going to be a sneak peek of our show to the people watching the Geekscape holiday live stream. There's so many things I love about what's about to happen right now.
Yeah, I'm super stoked. I feel like I'm not fully explaining this show well to people because of there are people that get super excited about it, and there are people that are just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, then here's the vision that I have for this show, right? Like, yes. I think that there's a kind of a multitude of layers here. And given the current political climate, I think that the show actually maybe is more important than ever.
And that's the sense I was getting the last time we recorded our very first episode.
Yeah.
Or the very first initiation.
Yeah. You'll hear it next week, podcast subscribers. But the goal that I saw with this was I think that there is a interesting divide, horrifying, but interesting. Yeah. Where there is these two branches of Christianity right now, where there's the branch that actually takes to heart the teachings of Jesus and the call to be good people. And then there's the white Christian nationalist movement, which is pretty much the antithesis of everything that Jesus was supposed to teach us. What I think is unique is that we're coming from this as you being someone who went to a Christian college. I don't know if you were going to a Christian college with the intent of being a preacher or not, or just that you wanted to stay close to Christianity and were like, oh, I'm going to a Christian arts college. And someone like me who actually at one point did want to be a youth pastor,
That's right.
Up until maybe my junior year of high school, I really was I'm going to be a filmmaker / youth pastor. That was was the goal. And I'd say that both of us have strayed from those goals.
Very much so.
Mine has strayed a little bit back onto that path in a very like wobbly kind of way, while yours is like continue to go in your own path. And my goal with this show is that I want people to be able to hear, I guess what I'm trying to get at is we're going to be analyzing the content that was a giant chunk of our growth at that time in the like mid 90s into the mid to late 2000s. Like that's going to be our real bread and butter. We'll absolutely look at stuff newer and stuff older than that, but I think like that 94 to like 2008 is definitely going to be like our main area of expertise
Right.
that we're going to be playing with. And I think that there's a couple elements, right? I think it'll be fascinating to look at this and be like, did this push people to the bad stuff?
Right. Right. What was the end goal for them, and what was the end result from their art?
Exactly.
And I think this is what intrigued me the most about this, because look, I grew up very Christian. I was very much in the church. I was in a Presbyterian church, so Frozen Chosen. It was closest thing to Catholic in Arizona. I was very much bought and paid for by the blood of Christ back in the day. Like I was full on DC Talk Jesus freak. I was, youth counselor. I did mission trips, all the whole 9 yards. Went to college, to a Christian college. Mostly, I went to a Christian college, A, because it was a school I got into very easily.
Yeah.
B, my sister went there and I needed some familiarity because I was very scared of the whole new world. C, it was in California where I wanted to go and try this acting thing out.
Okay.
And it was a liberal arts college on top of being a Christian college. So I figured
it's
that
not
was
even the most bad of the Christian colleges you could go to in the grand scheme.
It's actually very shunned in the Christian community because there's dancing on campus.
What?
And yeah, there's like
what
live
the
music.
Footloose are they trying to do over there?
100%. No, I remember, and I have so many different, like, there are many stories to why my view of especially American Christianity has changed, and my relationship with Christianity has very much diverted. One of them being that when I was in college at APU, I had two roommates who fell in love with each other, and that was very much against all rules and regulations, then they could have been kicked out had they revealed themselves earlier on in their whole educational career. Seeing how a lot of that kind of panned out and seeing how some of the art that came from like all of this stuff, I realized how much I was indoctrinated and how like there are some things that I'm like, oh, I really love this. So I don't want to prompt the audience to believe that I'm just going to be here hating on everything. I probably will hate on a lot of things because there's been a lot of growth and a lot of therapy in my life, which I think has helped me become a little bit more of a wider open view that a lot of some of this content had kind of skewed me into a narrower side of things. And when faced with reality and with real situations and real people with real circumstances that had very realistic consequences, that's what made me divert away.
And I think what'll be interesting is we're looking to have a plethora of guests on this show. And like, the guests I want primarily on our show is going to be a mix of either one of three categories, right? People who grew up exactly like us, and maybe some of them are still religious, maybe some of them aren't, but people who like, this isn't new material that we're presenting to them. There is that like rose tinted nostalgia glasses that they will have for this stuff. I also want people who have never even touched this stuff. Yeah. But I want them to come in it as unbiased as possible to like bring in a metalhead to listen to Christian metal and give us their like honest opinion on like, is this good? Like take the lyrics out of it. Like just sonically, are they good musicians or not? Like finding that, or which I think is very possible for a few of these, getting some of the people who were boots on the ground, getting members of some of these bands, getting some of the filmmakers to come and talk to us about like what was going on, because a lot of those people are ex-evangelical now.
Yeah.
And like, so I think that there's a lot to be
It's
learned.
honestly one of those things that like really, I think we started probably, I can't remember what Comic-Con, but we had talked about this a couple of Comic-Cons ago. And we were talking about sort of our relationship with Christianity and like all of the like random art and random movies and random video games and books. Like, I mean, this had a vice grip on so much of the content that we were consuming, to the point where like, yeah, I didn't watch Die Hard until I was like 28, you know, because I had all different versions of that were all Christian tinted. So I'm very excited to delve into some of these different things, especially the album that we're going to be talking about today.
And I think that that's why I wanted to start here, right? I wanted to start here for a couple of reasons. A, it's something I've already done a podcast on before with Christmas 365. We did this album. But B, like you said, like there's this indoctrination element, but I think something that always gets the pass, no matter what, is Christmas songs.
Christmas music, yeah.
Christmas music always gets this, like, it could be the most religious Christmas carol, but it gets the mainstream pass for the month of December. So, like, I feel like we're not going to be touching too much stuff that no one watching this live stream has ever heard before. Like, they're going to be familiar with almost every song. And it's coming from Tooth and Nail Records, which I think was a little bit more fringy than a lot of the other stuff, because Tooth and Nail had a very secular mainstream end goal in mind, more than a lot of those other bands. You've never heard this album before, correct? This is a brand new journey.
I mean, it was when you sent me the album and I saw the art, I was like, this is so familiar, but like it's sort of like deep recesses of my mind. And like some of the songs I was like, oh, wait, this band. So there was a lot of like faint memories that didn't fully form, and I don't know where they were coming from. But I think I've heard this album before, because I guarantee you, any of the youth groups that I went to, and I went to multiple as a
they had to have been playing this in December. This was the go-to December album.
Because it was like nouveau, it was more poppy, it was more of the like new wave of music of the sort of early 2000s, late 90s styles. And a lot of ska, too.
Boy, is it. All right, so let's dive in. I think the way that we're going to do this is I wrote down a couple quick notes about the song and the artist, and then I asked you to write your first thoughts on the songs, and we'll discuss. And this album starts off, track 1, Joy to the World, covered by the OC Supertones. Joy to the World is an English Christmas carol written by minister and hymnist Isaac Watts in 1719. But the version that most of us know is based off an arrangement from 1848. And the lyrics are an interpretation of Psalm 98 and Genesis 3. In North America, it is the most published Christmas hymn. This version of the song asks, yeah, but what if it was ska? Enter the OC Supertones, a band that was formed in 1991 under the name Saved. They tried to get signed by Tooth and Nail Records for many, many years, but got declined repeatedly until they changed their name. And I wrote down a little snide comment that this also was right around the time that MXPX left the label, so it might be arguable that they were desperately trying to find the next MXPX with this signing. And this particular cover would come out just around the exact same time as their second album and their biggest album, Supertones Strike Back. So, Katie, I have to ask, A, what is your experience with the Supertones? And B, what are your thoughts on their version of Joy to the World?
You know, this was one of those bands that I was like, wait, I know this band, because this was definitely one of those bands that you would play in like the bus going to like Christian camp.
Yeah.
Or like playing like, you know, as everybody was gathering for worship or whatever. But this it brought back some like odd memories that I was just like, wait, where did I hear this song? And I like faintly remember being like in a Baptist church hearing this song, and I was just like, oh yeah. And, like, I think a lot of this stuff was also played. So at Azusa Pacific, the college that I went to, you had to go to the chapel 3 times a week. So it was live music, it was a live preacher, and it was usually televised. That kind of stuff. Yeah. So like my closest, I guess, experience with like a big church type of mentality. And these were the kinds of songs that they would play before the worship got started.
Love it.
And like honestly, I feel like it was Christian ska that got me into ska.
Oh, I mean, there's definitely they were so close together in my discovery of that genre of music. It's a real chicken and egg. I genuinely don't know which I found first, but boy, did that genre work for me. And I think the Supertones, I think this is a very fun version of what is usually a fairly dull Christmas song to me. They have a good time with it.
Yeah, it's way more up tempo. It's got a lot of horns.
Boy, horns aplenty on this one.
And it's fun. It's a fun version. It's definitely one of those that I feel like in the back recesses of my mind, I was like, oh, this is when I was like, oh, you can make like slow, trudgy worship music a little bit more fun.
Well, this was right around when a group and album that we will certainly cover in the near future, the Insiders, had the Scalleluja albums where they would just
oh my god, what that name, holy shit.
Next up we have Winter Wonderland by Joy Electric. Winter Wonderland is a song written in 1934 by Felix Bernard. Due to its seasonal theme, it's often regarded as a Christmas song in the Northern Hemisphere. Since its original recording by Richard Hamper, it has been covered by over 200 different artists, and its lyrics are about a couple's romance during the winter season. This cover is by Joy Electric, which was a brand label for a series of electro and synth pop productions from Ronnie Martin. Martin began producing under the Joy Electric moniker in 1994 after the demise of his previous band, Dance House Children. This recording would have been around the time of his third and probably the breakthrough album for Joy Electric, Robot Rock. I've seen Joy Electric live at many a Christian music festival in my youth, and it was always kind of interesting to see because it's just one guy who would go on stage and he'd have synthesizers all over the place and a loop pedal, and he would create the songs in front of you with the loop pedal. He kind of fell into one of those categories where like his songs were very overtly Christian. But I think he also was like wanting to be taken seriously as he really passionately cared about the structure. He wrote overtly Christian songs that could have made him millions of dollars if he had written them as praise and worship songs, but he wrote them as these very like genre pushing bloopy bloppy electro synth songs that no church would ever adopt into their ministry. So you could tell there was an artistry there that he was trying to achieve.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.